Good afternoon, the COT data video for the week beginning the 3rd of February. Don't forget we've got NFP, don't forget we've got the Trump nonsense, noise, news, and that's going to be moving currencies a hell of a lot. So we're about to see how the banks are positioned, so that will be really useful. We can see that they have sold the euro quite heavily, and they've actually dipped down slightly on the USD, but of the two, it's more positive. That has dipped down as well, 66,000 from 60,000. This has had a tiny reduction. Might not be able to show you. Oh, it's a tiny. It's like 600 contracts difference. So of the two, the dollar is stronger. So it's worth noting. Let's look at the yen. And the herd and net short now. So that should bolster the yen a little bit. And we've seen an uptick as well. And we are just negative, but we could be like coiling for a spring. Looks like we're compressing. Can you see? It looks like it may want to spring higher because we've consolidated. And this looks like we might be making a move. So keep an eye on your bubbles, keep an eye on your sentiment. If you don't have access to the sheet, you can just look at my FX book or the FX SSI tools. Keep an eye on those yen crosses because you heard they're shorting the yen, so it should strengthen. Okay, take the euro off, put on the Aussie. Choppy and nasty. It's all this pretty horrible stuff going on there, and it looks like they were a bit uncertain because obviously the Trump tariffs with China. It looks like it's just gone sideways, really, isn't it? It's like 600 contracts just south, just very, very tiny reduction. I think once we get a bit of clarity, the banks will then know how to position because it tells me that they're not privy to what Trump's going to do. So this mess is sort of indicative of chop, basically, that we're going to probably see for a couple of weeks. Okay, so that's quite telling, I think. It's quite a lot of noise there, so be careful. They have sold the Aussie, and we've seen a small reduction. Okay, so Aussie off, pound on, pound just pretty much like sunk, really, isn't it? I'm not about to show you because that date's in the way, but we can see we're negative, and we've come off that high quite strongly, and we've got a yen pound crossover. So they're more bullish on the yen than they are on the pound. So you could look for pound yen setups to sell. So keep an eye on that, and obviously you wouldn't just directly just go into a chart and sell based on this data. This data is from Tuesday. All right, so we're nearly coming up to a week old. It's, when we come to Tuesday, this coming, it will be a week old. So we have got a little bit of lag in that data, but as it stands in the vacuum, in a nutshell, is that we have got a GJ sell set up. I may just avoid it because the yen has been a bit tricky. Pound off, CAD on. CAD's going to be really interesting. Okay, so we are still got that low, and they've actually they bought the CAD, which is really interesting. So it's quite telling. So this is from Tuesday as well. So they would be aware about what Trump was going to possibly do, what he may do, what he may not do. So they would have been aware of that. And I think they probably might be calling his bluff, maybe, because they've actually bought the CAD. So it's not a big increase, but they have bought the CAD. But we are at a net level quite negative because you see how far below zero we are. But they have gone off that low. CAD off, and then gold on. Gold's just been on the tear. Hopefully you haven't been caught shorting it because we can see in the COT data it's bullish, and the herd had shorted down here, and they've held short. Actually, doesn't look right. Maybe it's around here. I think that's when they started selling. It was around here when we were. They definitely started to sell down there, but I can't remember what the price was at that point. But they definitely flipped bias at these lows. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was that one, but it says it's 2023, which wouldn't be the case. They started to short in 2024, and they've held ever since, which is crazy. And that's gold. So be careful, and we probably are going to go up beyond all-time highs because it looks like we've got like a little bit of a divergence there. We haven't made a higher high, but we have it in price on the spot and also in the futures. So this could be pumping higher. Gold off, and then we could probably start looking at the peso, to be fair, because the Trump thing, um, they're selling the peso, which kind of makes sense. All right, so we are positive. We're just positive of 5,000 contracts. Okay, I don't know if anyone trades the Mexican peso. I'll take that off. New Zealand dollar on, and 54, 51, 47. So I think what we may do, we may go back in this chop again, which would be quite horrible. We did have a breakdown of that range. We may come back in it again, but we'll have to wait and see. And it may be that the New Zealand dollar might not be as bad when we look at Trump's tariffs as opposed to the Australian dollar or the Canadian dollar. It might be that New Zealand dollar might not be as impacted. So we may come back in that range, which would be annoying, but then we'll start chopping again. So we'll have to wait and see. Kiwi off, and then Swiss franc, and probably sideways on this. Pretty much sideways. We're still within that low and that high. Just a quick one about the bubbles. Don't forget, we've got timestamp bubbles now, so they should be really useful. The use case scenario here is that we'll see a bubble, and if it says 30 minutes here, then an hour, 4 hours, we can see that they're actually added to that bias. So, sorry, 4 hours here, 1 hour here, 30 minutes. So we can see recently the 30-minute bubble is going to tell us what they've done since the 4-hour bubble. So what we'll do, we'll look at this week, and I'll try and present some examples how it works alongside some chart analysis, and you'll be able to see. So don't forget, while you've got a bubble down here, ideally you want something up there as well. So you're going to trade strong buy versus strong sell. Okay, I've got a feeling that CAD may come over here. I've got a feeling that the dollar may come over here, therefore making the dollar CAD a buy. But we'll have to wait and see. So hopefully the COT data is useful. Trade safely, especially with this Trump stuff. And we've also got this as well. We can look at weekend prices, and it looks like we're going to gap down on risk appetite. So trade safely. I'll speak to you soon.